Kyle Woodall. I'm the co-owner of Machine Gun Graphics in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Started printing about 23 years ago, and Machine Gun Graphics has been a company for 18 years. It's been a long 18 years, but trying to make it through like everybody else is right now. So, but we specialize in discharge and water-based printing. Do a lot of embroidery, promotional products, all that kind of stuff. So we're doing what we can.
What was business like before you began using EXILE products?
Did it the normal way everybody else started out doing it. We had a Epson 7800 inkjet printer, output film with that. I had a custom built registration table that I would line films up with. And we had a really big loss and exposure unit. I think it was the biggest one that they make. We were doing like 4 of our normal like 2331 frames on it at a time. So I mean, we had the best that we could get for what we were doing at the time. So we were running, like I said, 4 of our normal screens, and we were anywhere between 4 to 8 minutes for our exposure time. So I mean, we always had like really good detail and really fine halftones from what we were doing. So it was just it was the next logical step for us to move forward into the world of DTS. So,
what problems were you trying to solve by purchasing an EXILE product?
Well, at the time, when we made the decision to actually move forward, like actually purchase the DTS, our Epson went down. I'd been using that printer for 11 years and didn't have one problem with it. So It was honestly, that thing was a workhorse for me. We had a wide format printer, limped along for about 6 months with that until we finally made that decision to get it. But the main reason to actually for us to move into DTS was to save time. Because we would honestly, because we typically do all of our screens on Mondays when we get in. So Monday is our prep day for the entire week. It would take us an entire day to make all the screens for the week, doing it, print film, wait for the film to dry, lining them up, exposing them, washing them out. Mm-hmm. So, saving time was our main deciding factor in moving forward. So, and like I said before, we already had really good definition, really good fine details and halftones and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't really a factor. And then, we also are trying to eliminate as much waste as we can as a shop. So whenever, you're printing film out, you just keep saving it and saving it and saving it. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have those as a reorder. Well, for us anyways, our customers like to do new designs and things like that. So we would end up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of used film that only got used once. So we would just toss it and move on. But now it's, we don't have to worry about that. Another thing was, the time saver is when it comes to on press, it's got the registration system built into the Spyder. So when we go to press, our registration times are cut down significantly from, lining up film and then hoping they're where they're supposed to be.
So where did you start your search?
I've known about EXILE and Oyo for a long time. Because honestly, like after our inkjet printer went out, I was like, okay, now I'm going to look for a thermal image setter, because that was always my big. That's what I wanted. Whenever I started printing, I wanted to get a thermal image setter because they have the black, all that kind of stuff. Again, it was saving time, saving film, stuff like that. So knowing about EXILE and Oyo from catalogs, the old impressions magazines that I had lying around. So I had known about the old Diablo and the original Spyder that EXILE made, and so I just started researching EXILE some more and found out the Spyder 2 was a thing, and then obviously looking into some of the other competitors, but it was honestly more one of those things where I've known the products and they speak for themselves for as long as you guys have been around, and
Okay.
from everything that I've seen at trade shows and things like that too. So,
What made Exile's products or services stand out from other options?
well, honestly, like I had known our rep Kyle for such a long time. Like even before he worked at Exile, he worked at a local screen printing supply shop here in town. So knowing him from that, and then he just like I hadn't seen him for a while. He showed up one day and was like, "Hey, I'm working with Exile now." I'm like, "That's funny you mentioned that because they're looking at getting the BTS."
Oh,
So,
perfect.
but I mean, the customer service that we've gotten from him, from the tech support end of everything too. It's just, if there were any questions or if there was anything, it was answered immediately. Like, some of the other competitors out there, I've had some dealings with them in the past. And nothing bad, nothing good. I mean, it's just one of those things. But with Exile, I already had that relationship built with our rep, and since he moved into working with Exile, it's like he knew, like he was always someone that knew everything about what he was selling. So
Okay.
he wasn't just the salesman. He knew what he was talking about. So he wouldn't try and sell you on anything that he didn't know about. And if you didn't do your research on it, he wouldn't sell it to you without doing the research. So, but yeah, just having the familiarity there with the products and with our rep and everything, it just made the decision so much easier. So
Were there any obstacles that almost prevented you from purchasing an Exile product?
no, not really. I mean, from talking to our rep, getting every question answered, doing all the comparisons between the four that we were looking at the time, to the quote, to the final decision to purchase. And I mean, even getting the financing squared away with our financing company, it was literally probably one of the easiest processes that I've had in the 23 years I've been printing. And just buying equipment can always be a struggle, especially dealing with finance companies and getting them to communicate with the dealer or the manufacturer. So it honestly was one of the easier purchases I've made. So
What features sold you on purchasing a Spyder CTS?
one of the biggest sellers on it for us was the fact that the smaller unit that you guys sell, it actually had a really, really large imaging area. We use 3 different size screens in our shop. And the biggest one we use is actually the largest screen that the Spyder 2 holds. So I was looking at it and I was like, oh, well, that just works because it's the biggest that the smaller Spyder can do. And because we were looking at going to the bigger unit just for our oversized screen. I talked to Kyle, our rep. He was like, we were going back and forth and looking at the specifications between the two. And, I was like, it says it does 30 by 40, but this brochure says it does this. So he's like, I'm going to go to our engineers and double check and make sure. I really like this. I mean, honestly, the smaller footprint of the unit, it just takes up so much less room than our gigantic exposure unit, because we're running the Velux too, with the Spyder 2, going from a 6-foot wide by 4-foot deep exposure unit taking up 45% of our screen room to these 2 machines that are literally taking up 10% in a corner. It just, it made the decision super easy to go with those. I really like the vertical imaging of it versus the horizontal where you lay it down. The other machines that are out there, they just take up so much room. Going back to our other screen sizes, you guys will engineer and custom build specific drums for different size screens. So when I was looking at buying, all we had to buy was, it came with the normal 2331 drum, and then we got a 2536 and then a drum for our 30 by 40 screen. So honestly, just being able to just put those three things in with the order, I mean, that was a no-brainer. The ability to choose what models we use as far as equipment goes. We're running rock presses right now.
Okay.
So we were able to pick what registration system we wanted in the Spyder 2. So if we were running M&R, we could get the tri-lock system. If we were running the rock, we could have the pin lock or their registration system, MHM. They all have different registration setups for their presses. So just to be able to pick what registration system we use, it went on the Spyder, and that is the easiest the easiest thing in the world to do, is just make sure that we have what we need ready to go. We print a lot of bandanas, so we had to have those big frames, and that was like the big selling point with EXILE, without having to go to the bigger model.
Is there anything specifically that you have enjoyed about working with EXILE Technologies?
The tech support too. I mean, it's been, it's been phenomenal. Like anytime that we've had a problem, it's been remedied extremely quickly. I mean, even during the pandemic, it's like, I know you guys were operating on, minimal staff at the actual facility. So some techs would be in when others would be at home, kind of doing alternating schedule. But yeah, anytime that we have any kind of problem, it's always immediately fixed. If it's something that we personally can't fix here, I know we've had a tech fly out a couple times just to kind of help fix stuff that wasn't easy for us to fix, that they were going to have to go in and do. So honestly, the tech support's been some of the greatest that I've had from any company that I've purchased anything from. So just the ability to have that partnership with them too, because I have a personal cell phone of 2 techs offhand. So they're like, if you ever have any problems, you have my cell phone. If you can't reach me at the office, call my cell phone. So just being able to call them if they're not, in the office, just makes my life a lot easier.
So what have you been able to achieve since using the Spyder CTS?
The workflow for sure, because I mean, we're running, instead of taking an entire day to make screens, we're making an entire week's worth of screens in a couple of hours. Okay. So we're still doing all of our screen production on Mondays, but we're also, like, towards the end of the day, everything's already ready to go. So instead of just waiting till Tuesday to start running stuff, we'll start running after lunch with some of the easier jobs that are when all the screens are all dry, ready to go, obviously. So the workflow for sure has increased our production, which in turn shortens our turnaround time, which ensures us to be able to put more into the week, the month, the year. So our numbers have gone up as far as production goes, and customers are reaching out because we are moving at a faster pace, thanks in part to Spyder, to EXILE for the Spyder 2. I mean, we're making screens faster so we can output shirts faster so we can print more for more people. So it's a cycle that keeps going. So.
Has there been anything that has exceeded your expectations since working with EXILE?
Just the customer service all around. So if we need to order wax for the Spyder, we reach out to a salesperson and they handle the sale, and it's shipped out the same day. And so anytime we need any supplies or we need anything, it's just everything's just handled so quickly and so passionately. Like everyone who works there cares about their job and what they want to do, and they want to help people. So everybody that we've dealt with is fantastic. So.
Would you recommend the Spyder CTS to customers?
We've actually had a shop in South Carolina reach out to us. We've had 2 shops here in North Carolina reach out to us because they were kind of looking at a couple different ones. So Kyle gave them our number to reach out to, talk to them and kind of walk them through how it's used and stuff like that. So I think we've had about 3 or 4 people reach out about kind of getting a testimonial, essentially what I'm doing now for you guys. So just to kind of get the feel for how the Spyder 2 works. So I mean, we anytime that we talk to another shop that's looking for moving into direct to screen, computer to screen, whatever they want to call it, we always push EXILE. Go get the Spyder 2 or the Spyder 3, whatever you're wanting to get. So.
What would you tell someone who's considering EXILE's line of products?
Do research. I mean, honestly, that's the first thing. Like, don't just buy something because it's the brand that you want, or the company that makes it. Don't buy it just because it's because of what that is. Like, buy a product for its features, buy a product for its customer service, buy a product for its tech support, because that's one big thing. Is especially some of the other ones that aren't made in the U.S. I mean, it's tough to get tech support. So having the factory in Texas, I mean, if you guys are an hour or two behind us in North Carolina, but other than that, there's no reason to not not go with it. But yeah, I mean, research is the biggest thing for me, especially with buying any equipment. I mean, it's a big investment, so you don't want to go in and just buy this piece of equipment that is going to stop working in 3 months and you're going to be down. You're not going to be able to run production. So just research. That's the main thing that I would tell anybody.
Was there anything that EXILE could have done differently throughout this entire process?
Everything that I've done with Kyle, everything I've done with John, everything I've done with Eddie, you guys have been phenomenal from the start. Like, I think even if I hadn't known Kyle as well as I did, all the new people that I've talked to at the trade shows, when I met you and at ISS, you guys have been extremely friendly, knowledgeable, things like that. So it's not there's not really anything that I would have wanted done any differently. Everything has exceeded my expectations.
Do you have any additional comments about EXILE or its products?
The time saver that the Spyder 2 gives us is phenomenal. Being able to get some of the best quality screens that we've ever gotten in my entire printing career, which has been a long one. Just the features of being able to customize it. Like, you can make whatever size drum for whatever size screen you use. So it's great to be able to have that adaptability instead of changing how you already do things and moving it to a new machine. Like, you can adapt your new machine to how you're already doing things. So just that kind of stuff is good to have. And not really much else I can say other than what I've already said.